Hello and welcome to the Sporting Life and Timeform Best Bets video for the Cazoo Derby and the day itself. I'm delighted to be joined by Ben Fearnley from Timeform and Matt Brocklebank from Sporting Life. Guys, thanks for joining us. I'm live from Epsom. I'm here in the media tent as we speak at 1 p.m. on Oaks Day. It's been persistent rain for about 3 or 4 hours really, and I think the ground is good. Maybe not enough for Jim Bolger's rain dance. We will see what you two think. But we'll kick off with the Cazoo Derby on Saturday at 4:30. Matt, we'll start with you. Just give us your overall view of the race as a whole, and then into your Derby selection.
I think it's a brilliant Derby. I think it's a good one to attack from a betting point of view as well. That's certainly the way that I'm going to be looking at the race, in that it brings it, obviously, and it always does, brings together loads of fascinating strands of form. And not only do you have those horses that have won the kind of obvious trials, but you definitely have a few in there that have run well in defeat. And you've also got, and I'll come to him because I think he's probably going to be my selection in the race at a big price, a horse that did really, really well as a 2-year-old. So does have a big rating, but hasn't necessarily shown his hand so much so far this season. But the whole race appears to revolve around Bolshoi Ballet. Look, it's very, very hard to pick holes in this horse's overall profile. We know that he's trained by the master. We know that he's bred to stay every inch of the trip. He's proven on ground varying from yielding to soft all the way through to good. I suspect he'd be even better maybe on quick ground. The one big question mark with him, and we're talking about a 6-4 shot in the Derby, he may even be shorter, is this horse good enough to win the Derby? It's as simple as that for me, because I just find, because there are mixed messages in his form this spring. That's the only thing I'd say, is that last year he wasn't up to it. He ran in one Group 1 race and was well beaten. And this year he's looked good. He's looked good visually and he's posted good times. But the question is the form worthy of this horse being 6-4? When you strip away O'Brien, Moore, the fact that he's one runner in the race for Ballydoyle, they obviously fancy him, Scoop. But I just can't go near him at the prices, to be perfectly honest, given that mixed messages in the form, because the Derrinstown's, on the face of it, looks quite good. Certainly with the horse, the third from the Derrinstown, Fernando Vici, won a listed race just yesterday. So a late boost for him. But at the same time, he won narrowly in a listed race. So we've got to factor that in. And obviously the fourth from the Derrinstown is Max Sweeney, who's come out and not only won the Irish 2,000 guineas, but beat the Newmarket winner, the stablemate, Poetic Flair, in the process. So apparently holds a lot of the other horses on that as well. But if you believe Jim Bolger that Max Sweeney wasn't at his best that day, and we've seen it before with Max Sweeney. I got lured into tipping him anti-post because we saw at times as a 2-year-old, he was up here and then he was down there. And I've got a feeling that I've got to trust him and suggest that Max Sweeney wasn't at his peak in the Derrinstown. That was far more like it last time out. And I just think that Bolshoi Ballet's form doesn't yet amount to him being a 5-4, 6-4 shot for the Derby.
It's very fair taking on Bolshoi Ballet at the prices. We'll come back for your Derby selection, Matt, just to round that up. But Ben, are you for or against the favourite?
Yeah, I'm probably to be honest, I'm probably gonna argue the case the other way, really, from Matt. I mean, I guess it comes down to whether you are a form person or whether you go off times, which one you predominantly go off, because you look at the time from that Derrinstown and it was a time figure of 120. He won going away readily, and yes, you can completely pick holes in the form in behind. I must admit, watching it for the first time, that race live, I thought that was impressive. He looked very good. He looked well balanced. He looked to have all the tools that you'd want in a Derby horse, in the way that he went through the race and the way that he was able to quicken and then keep going as well. But I didn't really know what he'd beaten. They finished in an absolute heap in behind him. So I can completely understand what Matt's going for with the angle. But if you trust times and time figures, that was 120 rating on the time figures, and he won readily. Probably could have won in a slightly quicker time if he'd really been absolutely fully gunned late on. And putting that in context, that figure that he ran to on the clock, we've got him just low 120s for his overall rating, a little bit of extra just basically because he won readily. So, but the bare form obviously is provided by the time. We've got him a low 120s horse, and that typically would be good enough to win a Derby, a lesser Derby. Obviously, you know, you're looking at mid 125, 130 for a good Derby winner, but particularly the last couple of years, the Derby winners have run to, on Timeform ratings, have run to 122 and 123, and we've got him at 123 now. So without factoring in any improvement that he might get for the step up in trip, which I suspect there'll be because of his breeding. Obviously, he's related to Southern France, who was a very strong stayer. It really took off towards the back end of his 3-year-old season as well, when he was going up to staying trips. But without that even being considered, he is pretty much a Derby winner now in terms of his form, an average Derby winner anyway, and that's based on time, not necessarily on the actual strength of that Derrinstown. So I guess it comes down to whether you trust the times or whether you're a form person only, to which way you're going to go in this. Because I think you either got to just back Bolshoi Ballet, or you've got to say, I don't like the look of that form, and I'm gonna go elsewhere and find something else. And I think it's as simple as that, really, with a favourite like Bolshoi Ballet.
So you're with Bolshoi Ballet, Ben?
Yeah, personally, I think he's got everything going for him. We've already mentioned the trip. We've mentioned that strong time figure last time. Also, I mean, I've never really bought into the trope about, if Aidan O'Brien's got 5 or 6 running in the Derby, he's not got a Derby horse, because we see it disproved year after year, because he'll win with a second, third string, whatever. But I do think it is significant. This is the race that Coolmore tend to base their whole season around, or certainly have done for a long, long time. It's the race they want to win the most, and they've got one runner in it, and they could have run several more who would have had chances. Not saying they would have had as good a chance as Bolshoi Ballet, and I do think High Definition is more of a back-end 3-year-old. But I just still think that is a massive vote of confidence as well, and it only really goes to shore up my confidence behind Bolshoi Ballet, and I think he's just going to be very, very hard to beat.
Fair enough. One vote for the favourite. And Matt, were you with Max Sweeney, or were you going to put up one at a bigger price?
No, just at current prices. As much as I like Max Sweeney, and I think he will stay the trip, I don't see any major issues there. If you're with him around 7-1, I can't let One Ruler go unbacked. He's 25-1 as we speak. And again, I'm with Ben in that, look, this is a form view on this horse, because based on form, he's the one horse that's overpriced. He's the second highest rated in the race going into it. And he got loads of experience as a 2-year-old. I think that was a really important factor. Something that Massar had as well. Obviously, Charlie Appleby's previous Derby winner, and Massar as well ran in the Guineas. And he went off a big price, didn't he? He was 16-1, believe it or not, Massar, based on the fact that no one thought he'd stay. And I think that's the main reason we've got here with One Ruler, because that run in the Guineas, it was a very creditable effort. It was a sort of archetypal running on 6th in the Guineas proper Derby horse. Now, people seem to have really cooled on him, especially when you consider after that workout that he did before the Guineas, at the Craven meeting, before, it sounded like Kieran Fallon must have told the whole of Newmarket he was going to win the Guineas, because suddenly you saw his price go from about 10-1 into 4. I think he was favourite for a good few days for the Guineas. Just before the race, he began to drift. He went off 10-1 there. And then on reflection, Charlie Appleby saying that he was slightly slower to come to hand in the spring than they initially thought might be a reason behind that. Now, I expect he's going to be a fair bit better than that 5-length 5th to Poetic Flare in the Guineas. Whether that's over 1.5 miles at Epsom, I'll hold my hands up and say that's another matter entirely, and we will find out. But his form ties in so well. He beat Maximal 1.5 lengths. Maximal came out and pushed Hurricane Lane, the subsequent Dante winner, to within just 1 length at Newbury. And obviously he beat Van Gogh in the Autumn Stakes. The Autumn Stakes has thrown up a whole host of future classic winners. the likes of Trading Leather won the Irish Derby, the likes of Kingston Hill that won the St. Ledger, obviously Magna Graecia and Persian King, they contested it just a few years ago as well. A really strong roll of honour. He beat Van Gogh that day. He went on to win a Group 1 as well. I think his whole body of form is good. Just beaten by Max Sweeney in the Doncaster mud at the end of the season. And just like you say, just a spot of rain throughout Friday morning has probably just taken the sting out of the ground for One Ruler. And I think as a son of Dubawi, I think he'll travel into the race nicely. It'll come down to that final 2 furlongs. Is he got the staying power? At 28 to 1, I'm willing to take the risk.
Great stuff. One Ruler, it's a big price for Matt. Right then, gents, let's get on to our best bets from the rest of the card or elsewhere in the country, wherever you want. Ben, we'll start with you. Where are you going?
I'm going to go in the race after the Derby, actually. It's the Northern Dancer Handicap, and a horse that's just got a different profile to the rest of them in the race, to be honest. Group 1 Power, trained by Andrew Balding, ridden by Sylvester de Souza. He won a course and distance handicap on his return this season as a 4-year-old, and he just looks a more relaxed and more complete horse this time around, to be honest. He was a very, very promising 4th in the King George V handicap at Royal Ascot last year, despite being really free throughout the race. He met a load of trouble, showed that he was on a good mark there in what was a very, very hot 3-year-old handicap. He didn't build on that next time due to just being too keen effectively, but as I said, he seems to be relaxing and calming down all the time. He shaped well at Ascot despite being beaten last time. He was just ridden too aggressively, basically. De Souza just got the fractions a bit wrong, and it was softish ground, and he just got tired late on and was beaten by one that was ridden a bit colder than him. But he clearly handles the track, so he ticks that box. And he's just got a different profile to the rest of them. He's a 4-year-old who's on the up. The only other 4-year-old that's unexposed in there is the Hannon horse. And he has a bit to prove. That's Lost Eden. He has a bit to prove after having an irregular heartbeat last time. So the rest of them are pretty much on their marks. They're not anything, I don't think, progressive or anything that Group 1 Power won't be able to beat if he can improve and take another step forward. So that's Group 1 Power in the 5:15, the race after the Derby at Epsom.
Great stuff. Group 1 Power in the 5:15 Epsom for Ben. My best bet for Saturday is in the Dash, the Whirlpool Dash at 3:45, and it's Rose Hip for Tony Carroll. She is a thriving mare who travelled well off a strong pace at Windsor last time to win going away, and I think she's going to love how this race develops. She's got winning form at Bath and Goodwood as well, which I like coming into a race at Epsom. Obviously, Tony Carroll has worked his magic in this race before with the brilliant Caspian Prince, who is going for his 4th win in the contest in the same field. But my best bet is Rose Hip in the 3:45 at Epsom. And Matt, last word to you.
Yeah, I'm going to tackle another handicap on the Derby undercard as well. This is the very first race, the 2 o'clock at Epsom. And this horse in question is Zhang Fei, who I'm hoping, along with his rider David Egan, can break his duck at Epsom, because David Egan's never ridden a winner at Epsom, believe it or not. But what he does have is quite a tidy little record for trainers Paul and Oliver Cole. I do like Paul Cole when it comes to these sort of 3-year-old handicappers that can progress with time, because he shaped with promise as a 2-year-old, but didn't show a huge amount. But I think that's really going to set him up nicely for middle distance handicaps this season. And he actually went to Chantilly for a couple of runs, one of which was on his seasonal debut. I'm going to include the video in the Value Bet column this week, Scoop, because it's well worth watching. It's well worth watching. It is, yeah. He ran on seasonal debut at Chantilly early April, and I think he was the best horse in the race. Now, I wouldn't be getting carried away about a kind of an unlucky 3rd in a Chantilly maiden, but what he did do was prove that was no fluke when he ran at Linfoot back on these shores at the end of May. That was off a mark of 82. That was in a novice race. So he goes handicapping now for the first time, but they've dropped him £3, which I think is quite a rare act of generosity, especially when you think about the winner at Lingfield was given a mark of 97. The second was given a mark of in the high 80s. I think that was 89. So he looks quite well handicapped here, because Luke Morris wasn't wasn't full Luke Morris overdrive at Lingfield last time. I'd like to think it was a run that he could build on. Now, he might need 1.5 miles, being a son of Camelot. He might need that little bit further, but I think this sort of test is going to suit Zhang Fei, and he's certainly being underestimated in the market. It's a hot-looking handicap, but I like this horse at the bottom of the weights under David Egan. Good luck to David as he looks to break his duck at Epsom.
Fantastic. I like the sound of him. Zhang Fei for Matt in the 2 o'clock, Group 1 Power for Ben in the 5:15, and Rose Hip for me in the 3:45. Good luck with all of your bets on Derby Day, whether it's in the big one or on the undercard, and we'll see you again next week.